Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of the Chocolate Shack. Inshallah, today I'd like to deal with an old issue that came up in 1963-64ish with our dear beloved brother, human rights activist, civil rights leader, as he was called back then, Negro right leader, the Honorable Malcolm X. He warned us about these two political parties. He told us back then that the Democratic Party was nothing but the fox and the Republican Party was nothing but the wolf. That our liberal brothers and sisters in the Democratic Party and that establishment has shown us that they will take advantage of us so long as it keeps them in power, making sure that whatever they do, they gain power and they have access. They use us to get it, but at the same time, we get very little for the exchange, right? For the votes that we give the Democratic Party, we get very little in the exchange, if anything. In the Republican Party, they're the outright wolves. They let you know from the beginning they have nothing for you and that they will entirely eat you up, that they have no care for us whatsoever. So Malcolm, he used the metaphor of the fox and the wolf to show us that when it comes to American politics, really the Black American, we have no friend. Now, that begs the question, should we be looking for friends in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party? And I think by now we know the answer to that. We have no friends there. When it comes to being Black in America, we understand that we have no friends. It is where it is. Now, can we broker relationships and have some type of allyship? I believe that. Of course, we can have allies. We must have allies. There's no way in the world that 35 million indigenous Black Americans, I'm talking about those of us who have ties back through slavery, and then the 15 other million that are coming in from the Caribbean, coming in from Africa, Central America, and South America. When you add them, we're about 50 million strong. So there's no way that this 50 million of us can do anything against the 150 million of our white brothers and sisters who themselves are mostly now, I guess you can call, second to third generation Americans, right? Becoming more indigenous now. Less people coming in from Europe than used to. Now more people coming up from the South, right? From Mexico, South America, etc. So as it stands right now, we as Black Americans must have allyship, but we don't need friendships. The friendship to the Democratic Party and what we've given the Democratic Party has not changed so much so since Malcolm X gave us that warning that amongst these liberals, we have no friends. Now, when you start to speak this way, unfortunately, there are those people who would start to say, well, this guy's starting to lean to the right. He's starting to lean Republican. Sounds like he started to, say that maybe we should look at Trump. You hear this juxtaposition. Every time somebody attacks the Democratic Party or we expose the Democratic Party for what they are, then people automatically then want to say, okay, well, then he's supporting the other side. That is the problem. What I'm saying is, and what others are saying is, that the duopoly, the American duopoly in this political schema is the problem. That it's time now to start looking at third parties, or it's time now to use our citizenship, our Americanness, to start to force other actions, whether that be through protestation, whether that be through hitting the streets, whatever it's got to be, it's time to do that. Because now we know through the duopoly, people are not being taken care of. And it's not just the Black American either. I'm just speaking about it from my particular angle. This is my viewpoint because I'm Black American. But our white brothers and sisters, the working class ones, they're in trouble as well. They're feeling the pinch. They're feeling the struggle. We are struggling out here. The world is changing. The economics are changing. The economy is changing. We no longer have this isolated form of economy. Our economy now is tied in to the rest of the world. This is just the way it's going to be. The planet is no longer this gigantic planet with people way over there who we don't know about much and people way over here we don't know about much. That's not our reality anymore. We know each other now. We can go right to the internet and speak to somebody in India right now. You can get on your phone and speak to somebody in Africa right now. I'm one who probably do it almost every day. So this is the reality of the world we live in now. So we're not going to have this isolationism that we had in the old days. We have to stop thinking that way. So how do we solve this duopoly? Where do we fit in to make change when we know that we could vote all we want, and at the end of the day, our politicians, the very people who we put in office, are the very people who sell us out. The minute we put them in office, then somebody with some money come along, some pharmaceutical company, some weapons manufacturing company. They tap on the shoulder of VP Harris. They tap on the shoulder of President Biden. They tap on the shoulder of former President Trump. And you can go on down the line with Obama and all of them. And you'll see that we've been sold out, that these people will listen to their paymasters after we put them in office. So now we have to ask ourselves, where are we in the voting process if when the person that you vote for is so susceptible to being bought off the minute they get in there? Look at AOC right now. What a shame. What a shame. She's a disgrace. At one time, I was one of the persons who was a Justice Democrat, and I went to my job and I went to my friends and I promoted people like AOC and the quote unquote squad. They came out of what I thought at that time was the left leaning part of the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders and the whole cabal. And now I look back on that and I feel like a fool. I feel like a complete fool for supporting the Justice Democrats. I feel like a complete fool for supporting people like AOC and the squad, when I see now that they are not able to maneuver up under the construction of the government, the way it is formed. We now have a government that can be bought and paid for. The rules have been changed since I was even a kid. In my lifetime, the rules of how it is that you vote, how it is that you become a politician, how it is that politicians can get paid, super PAC money, etc., dark money. All these rules have been changed since I've been alive in this country. So within the last 50 to 60 years, things have changed. So we have another America. And this America is bought and paid for by the rich. Now, of course, the rich always had their finger on the scale where they can make things lean in one way or the other. But now this thing is totally bought and paid for. We are now living in a kleptocracy. We are now living in an oligarchy. Point blank, period. This is what we have here. So now, are third parties an option? I would say yes, a third party is an option if that third party is not taking money from these PACs. We have to have grassroots organizations, and the only one that I know that's really doing pretty well is the Green Party. I understand that there's an American Socialist Party. I understand that there's an American Communist Party. I understand that there are other people out there trying to do other things. But at the end of the day, right now, it seems like the Green Party is the stronger of those third parties. That is left-leaning. Of course, we have the Libertarians that might be more, I guess you can say, center-right leaning. But amongst those of us who lean left, who understand leftist politics as being the way that you deal with these nation-state countries, then of course we have the Green Party. They seem to be the best party out there to handle what it is that I'm talking about. They seem to be what it is that we need to support. But how do you get people to support a Green Party? I guess there has to be an issue. That one issue that will make people pay attention. And of course, for lack of a better expression, when it comes to the Muslim community, or for lack of being able to put it another way, I should say, when it comes to the Muslim community, we already know what that is. We can't support genocide. And I would think that all moral people shouldn't. And this brings me to my point. The Democratic and Republican Party have become rogue. They're bought and paid for. Raytheon got them, brothers and sisters. Let Raytheon have them. The big tech companies, they got them in the palm of their hand. So let the big tech companies have them. The super rich and the super powerful in this country, they got them in the palm of their hands. So let them have them. So what we need is people power. And in order for us to do anything with people power, then we're going to have to rock and roll with groups like the Green Party. These are the political apparatus that we have to deal with. Groups like the Green Party. These grassroots organizations who have now given us their word. They've now put it as a part of their own construction or their own constitutions that they will not take PAC money. They will not take money from these super rich people, and that they will stand on their own 2 feet and only take small donations from the people who support them, as Bernie Sanders did before he basically sold out, or if he didn't sell out, he kowtowed and bucked down to the Democratic Party, right? So this is how we win. We have to start supporting parties like the Green Party. And that again is if you agree with the Green Party politics platform, which I have read and I agree with. They talk about reparations. You can't get the Democrats to talk about reparations. I mean, if they talk about it, they'll start talking about doing research on. We can research it. What that means is, brothers and sisters who are slow, those of you on the slow bus, that means they're not going to do a goddamn thing. That's what it means. And that means that Malcolm was right, that they're on this whole thing about being foxy, right? They're playing the part of the fox. Where the Republicans will tell you, all right, reparations for Negroes. One leader said from the Republican Party, yeah, we already gave them their reparations. The commentator who asked questions said, well, when do we get reparations? And he said, Barack Obama was your reparations. So this is how these people believe. This is how they think. He said President Barack Obama was reparations for black people. That's what they feel about us from the Republican Party. So we already know you get nothing over there. They are very clear. It tickles me. It tickles me that they are so clear. They're like, hey man, we don't, hey, look at, forget you, forgot you, we never thought about you. This is what the Republican Party feel about Negroes in America. So then we should feel about them the same way. If they feel that way about them, then we throw up our middle finger to them. And then we don't even consider them for anything, right? Don't give them nothing. That's why even blacks who say they're voting for Trump. I don't know why. I don't know what you vote for Trump for. I don't know what you think you're going to get out of that. But what Republicans have always given their own white brothers and sisters, right? The working class. The Republicans, at least since I've been alive in the last 50 to 60 years, they don't give anybody that's working class anything but some crumbs. But I guess for the majority of our white brothers and sisters who are very consistent for voting for them, I guess they all right with taking crumbs off the table. So long as they can have their little guns and feel like they're superior to the other brothers and sisters who are American and the rest of the world. I guess that's just enough to satisfy them. They feel all right with that. They get a little gas for their car, have a little house to live in, have a little wife and some kids. I guess they don't mind taking crumbs from the table. Again, let's not forget, this is a part of European history now. Remember, white folks are used to being serfs. They have a history of being serfs. They have a history of kissing the behind of their royalty. With black folks, we had a little different situation going on around the world. The people of the darker continents, right? Africa, the people of the, I guess you can say, the southern regions of the world. People in the southern regions of the world, we worked things out with people. We were more of, I guess you can say, in modern day materialistic terms, okay? So I'm just using modern language. I'm not trying to, superimpose something that we're doing today on the past, because I know it's not like that. But in modern language, we had more of what would look like a socialist way of dealing with things, right? Even if you had your royalty, even if you had your kings, your queens, and people who are important, because you always have to have leaders, right? The human family is going to always have leaders. But we had another way of dealing. So we had our leaders, we had our royalty, we had our people who respected our people that we boosted up because that's how the human family is. You must have leadership. But at the same time, people looked out for one another. These communities, even the most remote African communities, the most remote communities in the South Pacific, etc., they had this form of or a way of governing themselves where everybody was taken care of. There was no homelessness like we see in the Western world today. And this is written, by the way. This is not me coming off the top of my head. This is not me being romantic about Africans in the past and people, the non-whites in the past. How we wax, romantic about what happened in the past. We were so peaceful and so great. No, I'm not. This is not waxing romantic. The white man himself, the Europeans, have written in their books what they met when they came on these South Pacific islands, when they got there for the first time, what they saw. They speak about what they saw in Africa when they got there for the first time. Not only in the parts of Africa that were already very important, they were already well known, like ancient Egypt, but also in sub-Saharan Africa, in South Africa, and going into the interior of Africa. They met these communities where everybody was taken care of. They wrote this in their books. There was no homelessness. One white author said, I think he was British. He came into the interior of Africa. There was no homelessness. He didn't see people, prostitutes. There was no prostitution. Women selling themselves because they have nowhere else to go. They have to sell their bodies so that they can eat and feed the children. They didn't see women not being taken care of because polygamy was there. Men understood that we have to take care of those who are weaker in the community. The stronger men went out and took care of the business to make sure that the weaker men were taken care of. And the weaker men, they themselves had some type of office. They had something to contribute to the society. Like the women, like the old folks, etc. There was no sending old folks out to die or sending them off someplace. People took care of themselves in Africa, and they took care of their communities. Whatever the community had, whatever the tribe had, whatever they ate off of, everybody ate, right? In one context, I studied the Kingdom of Mali. And in the Kingdom of Mali, the military would eat one meal a day to stay in shape and to make sure. And this was the fighting force. This was the people who protected the other Malayans. And they would eat one meal a day, make themselves lose weight, get into supreme shape. And that one meal a day, because you had to have that military, you had to have those bodies that allowed the people in the community to eat. You didn't have the military eating up all the budget, eating up all the food, like we have in our country, right? 60+%. I think somebody told me last time I checked, 60-some-odd% of every tax dollar, federal tax dollar, goes to the military. Right here where I live in Gwinnett County, Georgia, right? 64%, I think, when I was with the NAACP some years back, maybe this was 4 years ago, 64% of every tax dollar is going to the police department. So this is why you heard the young people in the street saying, defund the police. They weren't saying that we don't want the police. They were not saying get rid of the police. And I hate that I heard not only our white brothers and sisters, especially the right-leaning ones, criticizing these young ones. I also heard black leftists criticizing them, saying, no, we need the police now. You got to have the police in these Negro communities because we'll kill each other. We got there's a lot of crime in the community. And that's not what they were saying. They were not saying get rid of the police. It's so idiotic how it is and how stupid people can be. Or on the other hand, how devilish they can be because they know exactly what these young people were trying to say. They were not saying get rid of the police department. Nobody's saying that. We know we have to have protection. What we're saying is, or what they were saying is that you could take some of that money, some of those pennies off that 64 cents per dollar that they get here in Gwinnett County and give it toward institutions that will help people mentally so that you don't have people out in these communities commit some of these crimes. That money should be reallocated to help protect us in other ways outside of putting it in the police department so they can buy drones, because now we have drones here, right? We're American citizens. And now when you raise hell about something that your local government does, right here in that county, they send out the drones. Now you can look up in the sky and the drones are there. I went to a jazz concert in the city of Atlanta. Now, when you go to the parks for your jazz concerts, they throw out the drones. Now the drones are up there. So now you're being surveilled not only by the cameras that they have on the poles, because right here where I live, they let you know when you move into this community. You were told when you move into the community, there are cameras everywhere, right? The minute you drive up to the driveway coming into my community, on both sides, cameras are everywhere. They tell you when you move in here, hey, look here. Everything you do, you're being surveilled. We're watching you. We can see you, right? And so now you already have your private cameras for the neighborhood that you live in. So you have privatized cameras, right? For the people who own the properties. Number one, cameras on the buildings of the people who own their businesses. Where I work, where my business is, cameras on the front, cameras on the back. So now you have cameras there. Now the state steps in. The cities in the states now have cameras. So in every little hamlet in Metro Atlanta, all throughout the state of Georgia, cameras everywhere now watching everything you do. On top of that, they have drones. So now on top of all of these cameras, we have drones. One Republican politician, I don't know her name, she's a woman, she is raising holy hell about how many cameras we have in the state of Georgia now. They're saying that in the state of Georgia, we have more cameras in the state of Georgia than any place on the planet Earth except Washington, D.C., Beijing, China, and London, England. Good God Almighty, brothers and sisters. The state of Georgia have more cameras watching people than any place on the planet Earth except those places I just mentioned. Cameras everywhere. And on top of that now, drones. This is what the people are saying. Why do we need drones when we have all these cameras? Can't we use that money that they spent on those drones? Oh, by the way, the city of Atlanta bought 24 tanks. They're building Cop City down there now in Atlanta. So now we have about 24 tanks. This is an army. They're building an army. What is this being built for? Why are they doing that? What are they preparing for? Some outsiders to come in here and do some harm to Americans and they need 24 tanks? For some outsiders they think gonna come here and do something to us? Or are those tanks being set up for us? When we figure out the game and people stand up and say, wait a minute, we're tired of this now and we're not going for this anymore. So we have to, keep our heads on a swivel. The point being made here with this video, and I'm getting long, I'm going toward 25 minutes, so we're going to end it up, is that Malcolm was right. The Democratic Party is nothing but a bunch of foxes, and the Republican Party, nothing but a bunch of wolves. So how do we help ourselves? What do we do to correct this? I would say that everybody should start looking at grassroots efforts, that we should start looking at the third parties. If you happen to be Black and American and you've already established yourself in a particular type of politic, which is going to be a leftist politic, because if you go right, you go wrong in this country. Because what the Democratic Party is now is what the Republican Party used to be in the days of yore. And the Republican Party, as I always say, they've gone off the cliff. They are truly looking straight up fascist. At least the Democrats are trying to hide their fascism, right? Both of them are fascistic. But the Democratic Party, they put a better face on it, right? They put the lipstick on the pig. The Republicans, they don't give a damn, all right? So all we have is something left like the Green Party. That's all we have left. So this is my message for the day. I wanted to remind us to be very careful about what's going on out here. VP Harris, she has no answers for us. She just has a bunch of word salad. That girl is an empty head. She is the emptiest suit I think I've ever seen in politics. I don't know if I've met a worse politician at that level than VP Harris. She's horrible. And Trump, oh my God. Just to think of it. We have to choose between Trump and Harris. Good God Almighty, this country is doomed. We're doomed. So that's my message for the day. I pray all is well. If you like the message, please do me a favor and like it. And if you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. Y'all take care. I love you. Peace.